Welcome, everyone. In our previous episodes, we explored upskilling, reskilling, and upscaling. Today, we are exploring a new concept that many of you are likely already doing without even realizing it: cross-skilling. Cross-skilling means developing skills outside of your main job description, so you can work better with other departments and understand the bigger picture of your company. The ultimate goal of cross-skilling is transformation. It is what turns you from a specialist who stays in one lane into a professional who understands how the whole system works. Today, one of the most practical and powerful examples of cross-skilling is the modern workplace, is data literacy. You don't have to be a data scientist. You just need to understand the flow of information. Let's look at the real workplace. Employees today are given access to many digital tools, especially within the Microsoft ecosystem. Tools like Microsoft Excel, Power BI, Teams, SharePoint, and Loop, just to mention but a few. Companies invest heavily in these platforms to manage workflow, coordinate projects, and hold meetings. Because of this massive amount of data like reports and performance dashboards, these are generated every single day. Here is the problem. Most people see all this data around them and assume someone else is going to analyze and interpret it. The challenge is that when many people open a report, they only see rows and columns of numbers. Our goal with cross-skilling is to change that. We wanted to teach you how to see the story behind the numbers. To see that story, you need to understand the organization as an ecosystem. Most companies are broken into departments like operations, finance, logistics, and customer service. But these departments are not isolated islands. They are deeply connected. To be truly effective, you must understand how your specific role connects to the rest of your organization. Let's use aviation cargo handling as an example. When a shipment moves through the system, it hits several stages: booking, warehouse arrival, weighing, security screening, and finally aircraft loading. At every single stage, data is generated. Things like cargo weight, handling time, and flight schedules. If you only focus on a tiny section of that cargo process, you miss the big picture. But if you start reading the operations reports, patterns begin to appear. You must notice that cargo delays always spike during a certain shift, or that documentation errors are causing the loading details. Recognizing these patterns requires basic data literacy. This is where your cross-skilling makes you stand out. When you learn to use tools like Excel or Power BI, you stop just completing tasks and start asking better questions. Why did numbers drop this month? Why are we slower this week? You stop bringing problems to meetings and start bringing insights. You shift from being someone who just does the job to someone who helps improve the job. If you think data literacy isn't important for your specific role, consider the financial reality that modern organizations are facing today. Research from Gartner shows that poor data literacy costs companies millions of dollars every single day and every single year. To put a finer point on it, a report by Click estimated that organizations lose an average of over $12 million annually because their workforce lacks data literacy. Why is this happening? It comes down to what we call the data illusion. Today's organizations invest heavily in digital tools that generate massive amounts of information, reports, and performance dashboards every single day. However, that staggering $12 million loss stems from the fact that many professionals open these reports and only see rows and columns. Because they lack the fundamental skills to interpret the data, they assume it is someone else's job. like a dedicated analyst to explain what the numbers mean. When a workforce cannot interpret data, they miss critical operational patterns happening right in front of them. For example, without data literacy, you might not notice that documentation errors are causing major workflow delays or that customer complaints are spiking during specific shift. The inability to translate raw numbers into actionable business insights leads to unaddressed inefficiencies and poor decision making, which ultimately costs companies millions. Data is everywhere, but the ability to actually apply it is still relatively rare. And here's a key takeaway. Applying data doesn't mean you need to become a data scientist. It simply means developing enough cross-skilling expertise to ask better questions, shift from blindly completing tasks to asking things like, why are these numbers dropping this month? Or what patterns do we see in these reports? When you learn to interpret and apply data, you stop bringing problems to your managers and start bringing insights. You stop being someone who just does the job and you become someone who helps improve the job. And that is exactly the kind of transformation companies need to stop losing millions. So how do we fix this? You don't need a university degree. Short mini courses can build your foundation. The first path is Excel for data analysis. By taking a short course to learn formulas, pivot tables, and trend analysis, you move from simply viewing data to actually interpreting it. The second part is Power BI fundamentals. Many companies use Microsoft Power BI to turn raw numbers into beautiful visual dashboards. Learning this allows you to present insights clearly during meetings so that decision makers can quickly understand what's going on. The third and fourth parts focus on how we work together. A short course in digital collaboration teaches you to use Microsoft Teams and SharePoint to manage team workflows and share documents. And next, learning project management basics using frameworks from the Project Management Institute teaches you timeline coordination and risk management. This helps you manage initiatives even if you aren't officially a project manager. The final part is studying data literacy and business insights directly. These courses teach you how to read business reports, ask meaningful questions, spot anomalies, and translate raw numbers into actionable steps. This cross skill allows you to contribute strategically to high-level discussions. As we close, remember that cross-skilling is a mindset. It is a willingness to say, I want to learn what helps me understand the bigger picture. I want to leave you with one simple question to reflect on. What is one skill outside your main job that could make your work easier and more impactful? Sometimes that single skill becomes the bridge connecting your expertise to a massive impact in your organization. Thank you.